about it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another tooling podcast. Crikey,
Yes.
not another tooling
Long
podcast.
morning.
Right one, wasn't it? It has been one of those mornings for me. I apologise profusely. Matt, how are you?
Good. Yeah, I can't complain. A bit of travel, so got back last night.
Actually.
A bit of travel. Say again?
Nice. You're looking very casual for you as well.
Yeah, man. I just thought I now and again, I've bought a t-shirt like 3 times this year so far. I figured why not make it a 4th? Yeah.
Now the weather's starting to get a bit warmer. It's good.
It has been nice though. It's miserable
sure.
here now. It was nice at one point, but it's not as nice now. But either way, can't complain.
Yeah. Super. And welcome to our very, very special guest this week, Mr. Jamie Marshall. Thank you for taking some time.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'm not sure I've ever been described as very, very, very special, but we'll see if I can live up to the hype.
Not even by your mum.
I'll bring her and ask her after this.
It's not often we have co-founders on this on the show, so very excited about that. Do you want to give us a bit of an overview of who is Jamie Marshall and what did you do and how did you end up doing what you do?
Yeah, so I'm an MSP first and foremost. So I run Everon, Switch on IT. We're based up in Leeds, and ultimately my journey is probably like most MSP owners. Started off on the tools or in the tech, and sort of transitioned to become a business owner or a co-founder. And ultimately, I'm less technical now because I spend more time kind of running the business or trying to run the business. But ultimately, everyone's kind of mission is to work within the B2B and SMB markets to specialize in helping people win with technology, something I like to say. And what that ultimately means is helping demystify the use of technology, helping to understand business pains, and then relate that to the right technology for our clients to help them grow. Officially, we started in 2008 as Everon. We've been through a kind of a rebirth in 2016, 2017. And then even more recently, myself and my other co-founder founded a Dynamics practice about 2 years ago, delivering Microsoft Dynamics and everything in the ERP world. The short and sweet version of me there.
Wonderful. Sounds very cool, and good to have another Northerner on the show as well. We like that. Are you a Leeds fan? Are you a Leeds fan, Jamie?
Oh yeah, I am. Yeah, it's a good week to be a Leeds fan. Yeah, definitely. After we beat Manchester United on Monday, yeah.
Which is my team. So yeah, we'll move on from that quickly. Right, we're going to have a change this week. Matt is going to head up the questions today. So as always, any of our wonderful listeners and watchers, if you've got any questions for Jamie at all, please drop them in the chat at any time, and we'll do our best to get those answered. But Matt, take it away.
Thank you very much. So MSP tooling, that's the main topic of conversation today. And there's a few acronyms that I had to learn as well a few months ago. But MSA tooling and PSA tooling, I think that's like an interesting topic generally because of the level of depth you need to go to and ultimately center your business around that kind of tooling. So if you can now talk us through what that, I don't want to overuse the word journey, but what those stages were in your since 2008 of trying different tooling that help you do more things better for your customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think like most businesses in any sector, when we first started out, we were really siloed, really manual. Everything lived and died with the people that did those individual tasks. Obviously, looking at where we are now and the world we live in now, it's completely different. And we've talked a little bit offline, and we'll probably get into Halo and how that's the center of our world, and how we're always striving to do a little bit more with automation and some of the tools around us. So Essentially, we started our world, our help desk is the center of the MSP world. Obviously, we work on recurring revenue and support contracts. We need to know we're profitable. When we deliver a service to a client, the only way we know we're profitable is to understand how much time and resource goes into managing that client each month. So the service, the PSA service, the help desk main tool ultimately is the most critical in our world. And we started with a platform called Autotask, which was from a company called Datto. I think it might be Kaseya now. They're one of the giants of our industry. And they had a platform that would deliver kind of baseline MSP services out of the box. Time recording, it did some billing and utilization stuff. Where we struggled with that platform over the number of years we used it was it soon sort of stopped getting developed. So from where we started, it met a need and a purpose. But as we grew as a business, as our industry evolved, the platform kind of stagnated a little bit. And it got to a point where we knew there were other tools and systems available, but because it was the central hub of everything in our world, we deemed it too big of a pain to move. So we lived with it and lived with it and lived with it. Mm. It wasn't until probably in the last 5 years, maybe a bit longer, a company called Halo came around, and they're a massive differentiator in our world in that they approach things completely different from the likes of Kaseya, Datto, ConnectWise, those sort of the tools. Not only the commitment to the way the tool works and how open they are about integrating, but the commitment from like the owner, for example, of every time he signs a new client, I think his shareholders agreement resets and he can't sell it for 10 years. So he's in it for the long haul. He's not kind of just a smash and grab going to sell out to a big PE firm. We as MSP feels like he's alongside us in this journey. Mm. So one of the big drivers of changing was because these guys are kind of started developing momentum. But the secondary major benefit to us was that for billing of licenses and subscriptions, which was a massive manual process in the past, where we buy the Microsoft licenses in for clients, we had to manually replicate the license quantity count and stuff like that. I remember with the best will in the world, they're never going to stay aligned. There's always going to be mistakes and people miss things. I remember sitting down and doing an exercise once in an Excel workbook. And I think there was like, over the course of a few months, there was about £3,000 worth of missed items that weren't being billed because we'd not updated the number. We'd been buying the extra subscriptions, but we hadn't been updating them in the billing side of Autotask. Yeah. So the ability for Halo to integrate natively to the CSP Microsoft platform and literally automatically adjust the quantity counts alone was a massive like lever and enough for us to make the switch to Halo versus Autotask. It does also do a lot of other things, but that was one of the main reasons we got it initially, was to stop that discrepancy and billing and either lost revenue or just the admin time we were taking to try and keep it in line and up to date.
So talk to us then like the life cycle of a customer. Like you've acquired some customer, referral, lead, whichever else, and then they're in your world. What does that life cycle of the customer look like from a tooling point of view? All elements of the tooling in MSP. Like what's the journey for them going through everyone?
So we have obviously the point the agreements are signed and we're onboarding them. We basically have Halo being their main system they're initially onboarded to. So that becomes their like account management CRM piece. So all of the contacts go in there, the services they're buying, how many people are in that company, who their VIPs are, who we should go to for billing, all those bits get captured in Halo. Outside of that, or in tandem, that then aligns to a documentation system we use called IT Glue. So that then replicates that account, it replicates those contacts, and essentially gives the team an area to start putting that onboarding documentation, those configurations, all the things we're learning about that client go into there. And then Microsoft love to make our lives difficult, but in terms of the whole Microsoft licensing and subscription piece, we generally will migrate the licenses from their old provider into our CSP portal. And as soon as that happens, they trickle through into Halo. And again, the billing gets automatically updated. We have another tool for sort of like a client intranet portal that we launched in lockdown. And essentially what that does is it gives the clients an ability to submit tickets or interact with the help desk team through their own branded portal. And essentially, if a client puts a request or puts a ticket in there, it creates that automatically in Halo as well. So our team don't have to worry about these 5-6 different systems. Our team works solely in Halo for the day-to-day management of that client, but the other systems all feed that data and that information in.
Nice. And I know when we spoke the other day, we was talking about like the business operating side of things, and we share an interest in a particular business operating framework called EOS. So maybe I know that's a journey for everybody, I think, but maybe if you want to explain what that is, how you're adopting it, and then the tooling associated to that as well.
Yeah, so EOS is, I guess, a framework for managing business and growth and structure and accountability, I guess. It was actually my co-founder that kind of initially read the book Traction and kind of understood this could be of use for us, because we'd grown initially from being a 2-3 person team into sort of 11, 12 people. And as you grow, you don't always stop to kind of change your processes or adapt as you grow. And sometimes it's only when you look back or a process stops working that you realize you've outgrown it. So the idea of EOS and Traction is to help us understand where we now sit in this business, what this business needs, and in short, make sure that everybody's delivering the bit that they're responsible for. So I'd recommend anybody, any industry, any business to look at EOS, Traction, and how that works. We originally, like I say, my co-founder Stuart Crane read the book Traction, and we tried to self-implement. So we used Microsoft Planner, where massive Microsoft nerds at Everon, well, I mean, both companies, to be fair, are built on Microsoft ecosystem. So we started looking at Planner and how we could use Kanban boards and Planner to manage some of this stuff. But we quickly kind of found it wasn't really streamlining the process. It had moved us on. We had a little bit of accountability and structure, but it kind of missed the point of EOS and Traction. So we found a program called Stretti, and Stretti essentially will help deliver that EOS framework in a single app. So we now have a weekly level 10 meeting. We have like the monthly.
What's the weekly score? What's the average? What's the scoring?
So we're redoing our scorecards at the minute. What we've kind of found again is that when we've self-implemented this, the scorecards aren't always that relevant. So we have too many scorecards per department at the minute. And it's a little bit overwhelming and a little bit muddying the waters or over complex and things. We're working with a consultant right now to basically redo this and involve more of the team. So the one mistake we had when we started delivering or introducing EOS internally is we just kept it to the SLT team. So we had maybe a third of the team that were involved in it, even though some of the responsibilities and some of the actions that came out of those meetings needed to be delivered across the wider team. So what we're actually doing now is to rebuild and redevelop what we originally did, but roll it out to the wider team, make sure everybody's got visibility of it, and it's not just the SLT team. And then to go back to your point on the scorecard, each individual team will have their lower level metrics, but our top metrics for each department might only be 3 to 5 key KPIs. And the premise to what we're working towards is if we're constantly achieving a target and it's green, then we need to remove it because it's no longer needs to be measured as like granularly, or we need to make the target harder. And likewise, if we're missing the target consistently, what's the root cause there? And maybe it's not achievable, maybe we've not got capacity, or maybe there's an issue in the team or the department somewhere.
Did you say issue then, did you?
Issues, yeah. Are we living, what is it, IDS at the minute? IDS, and I can't remember the acronym for, is it want it, capable, and resource, the 3 limitations you might have? Do you want the role? Have you got the capability?
Get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it.
That's it,
yeah.
So we're kind of stuck in that mode at the minute of version 2 of introducing that. And ultimately, the Stretty tool we use to do that not only gives us the framework to do it, but it will then integrate with Microsoft to do. Again, being a Microsoft house. I personally run my life through to do, whether it be flagged emails, whether it be from internal planner boards we have, or now Stretty. All those elements come into my to-do list, and essentially I work day to day on my to-do and just.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I absolutely love to do.
So let's talk more broadly around the different tooling. So you've got. Oh, sorry, Austin, go, mate.
I was just going to say it was a really interesting point that you made there of like, you read the book and you thought, I think let's have a go at this ourselves and try and do it. And then you went, oh, let's get some help in and some tooling. And I kind of feel like, that is most of the reasons why people use a service like you, right? It's like, hey, we've tried this and it's really hard to run our own services ourselves, or it's expensive, or we can't get the staff, or we can't keep the staff, or whatever. Although now with the world of AI, it's almost like we can't keep pace and can't get the skills. Do you think that's the reason why people are coming to you? Or when is a good time for somebody to come and say, oh, Jamie, our business, we're really going to need you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the cloud, basically in our world, I think the cloud promised everybody the ability to take complexity and move it somewhere else. And I think that simplified your requirements. If you're a brand new startup now and you work with fully cloud managed apps, you need less on-premise hardware, you've got less complexity. So in effect, it's easier to try and do these things yourself. But I also think that the world's changed drastically. And if you're talking about regulated industries, especially, the governance and compliance piece there is becoming ever more demanding. And the risk of doing stuff yourself when you don't quite understand the technology, how the tools and the data all work against your compliance responsibilities, is that you could be leaving yourself open to risk and massive fines or big issues if you're not meeting the compliance regulations and that sort of stuff. I think that world's only going to get more and more problematic for people with some of the new acts that are getting released and the government frameworks that are tightening and that sort of stuff. Obviously, in the last 12 months, we've had, is it Jaguar Land Rover, not Harrods, one of the big chains got hit in London. And I think that's taken what MSPs have been talking about and put it into the media and put it into the spotlight of, look, it's not just saying be secure and do these things. The compliance and the governance piece is catching up. If you're not doing them, you might go bust, you might be fined, you might have this. And that's changing some of the MSP offering. So we're moving away from having to do the legwork of managing technology, but instead we're moving into a world where we have to keep you compliant. We have to understand how the technology piece fits alongside your business requirements or your industry requirements. And I think, there's no one size fits all. Go to this MSP for this at this time, but I think it's probably naive to think you can do this sort of stuff without living and breathing it every day now, because you don't understand how those two worlds can collide and that sort of stuff. And that's before we factor in AI, which, as you mentioned, we have a person whose full-time job here at Everon now is to be an AI functional consultant. That's all they do day in, day out. And even that person will never be at the forefront of AI because it moves too fast. So if you're a solicitor, or even worse, for example, you're a plumber and you're not technically minded anyway, how on earth are you ever going to keep up with those trends? And I think, again, that's where MSPs will complement businesses, not necessarily from break fix like they've done in the past, but from understanding the technology, the tools, as you guys call them, and how they can align to businesses and deliver benefit, because you don't know what you don't know. And ultimately, that was our naivety with EOS. We know Planner, we've read a book on EOS, let's just put the two together. But in reality, it doesn't pan out that way when you try and put it in a real working business with people and processes. I don't know if that answered your question or if I just went down a rabbit hole there.
No, absolutely. And I've diverted Matt's track now. Sorry. Do you want to get us back on track, Matt?
It's all irrelevant because I thought where you were going to go with Austin, to be honest, is even in our tooling space, right? Like how often we'll see a customer want to buy something off the shelf and then just self-implement or get it done on the cheap. And then at some point, especially if it's a big investment, 1 year, 2 years down the line, they've got this technology about to renew its software renewal is about to come in, and it was never implemented well because they've just made do rather than at the time making the investment to go pay for the professional services. And even now, when I'm speaking to customers, I'm generally recommending where you can is just go straight as well to the software vendors. Certainly, some of the tools in our enterprise space, because they've got a vested interest for you to deploy it as quick as possible to get as much value as possible. So you're a referenceable customer, rather than you're outsourced to a professional services organization in our tooling space. It isn't always a vested interest.
One thing we've been guilty of and never really realised this at Everon, and it's only through working with someone recently this has kind of come to light, is we've done an exercise called Working Genius. I don't know if you know about this. Ultimately, to keep it really simple, everybody's got two types of work that really energizes them. They love doing. They've got two types of work they can do, but it's just a bit of a tedious task for them. And they've got two types of work that they're really frustrated by. And on the adoption of stuff and just going out and doing it ourselves, the reason I think we've made mistakes in the past is myself and my co-founder, our working geniuses basically say that we make a decision really quick because we're excited about something and we just go and get it done. And we miss this activation piece in the middle, which is about like discernment and understanding if it's the right tool or how we should go about it. We want to take an idea and run with it straight away because we've missed that middle piece where we've been guilty in the past of, this is great, let's just get in front of it, and not thinking enough about what it needs or how it should be adopted or how we should engage it. And that's something we're actively trying to balance out now within the team and what we do, or at least have a think about that middle piece rather than running before we can walk with a new tool or a system and that sort of stuff.
Nice. And when you're saying that, then there's a similar structure inside of EOS where I forget what it's called, but it's a quadrant where you're good at it but don't like it, or not good at it. Similar process. What I was going to say just before around like the other tools. So you've got your ecosystem around your core PSA solution. Obviously, Stretty is helping you run the business from a strategic point of view. But then, the top 3, 5, 10 other tools or technologies that you need to be able to operate efficiently with your customers. Like I'm a new MSP. I'm going to sack in this tooling podcast stuff. I'm going to come after your business instead, Jamie. What's my tool? What's my tool chain looking like?
So your most critical piece is that help desk. How are you managing time and resource against client contracts? For us, Halo is the one we love, Halo PSA. Outside of that, you've got a documentation piece. How do you manage config and change and tribal knowledge? If somebody delivers a fix for someone, how can we reuse that and learn and like redevelop it all the time? So that is, for us, that documentation piece called IT Glue, manages config and documentation. Billing, how do you get paid? Ultimately, again, this is a massive part of that puzzle, or keeping your business afloat. How do you generate the money? So we use Xero, and again, this all integrates natively with Halo, which is that centerpiece for us. And then we have probably a couple of others. So probably the biggest other one, if we're keeping it simple, is who are we partnering with for these SaaS subscriptions? Because we don't want to necessarily go to Microsoft and Google Direct and all these other people and manage these 5 different vendors or 10 different vendors. So we have a CSP, a cloud service provider, that ultimately brings all those different vendors into one marketplace. So for us, that's a company called Pax8. We basically partner with them, and majority of the vendors we use all live and sort of work through them. So again, we've got one connection with Halo. We buy the stuff through Pax. It gets synced into Halo, pulled against the client agreements, and then that then gets pulled up into the accounts package. So we're billing them, and we never get any kind of misbilling and that sort of stuff. So they would be our kind of key components to keep the business alive. And then, as you mentioned, Stretti and EOS is that like high level strategy for the business. What we're doing, where we're going, what are our blockers, and how do we overcome them ultimately.
Nice. Austin, you got anything else before I move on?
No.
All right. So let's talk about the Microsoft stack then. You said you're maybe not the words, Microsoft fanboys or of sorts.
Yeah.
So Microsoft is your world. Like, what are you using in that stack versus not, or plan to, or do you need to complement it with anything? I was having conversations just the other day where we was using some of the Google features and was like, oh, should we do Google or should we do Microsoft? But you know, you've put your roots into Microsoft. Like, how much should we use them?
Probably quite a lot, to be honest. Definitely compared to clients. But yeah, we made a decision probably 10 years ago to really lean into it. And ultimately, what that means is a client will come to us with modern work, so Microsoft 365. They might be using SharePoint. They might use Teams, but we see a lot of people just use Teams for video calls. They don't necessarily use Planner and all the other elements that you can sort of embed within it. And then from there, when we look at automation, we're talking about the Power Platform. So we're talking about Power Automate, Power BI for your insights and your dashboards, and then some Power App development. And then one step up from there, we've got the Dynamics platform. So for us, that's CRM, that's project operations, field service. We don't touch the finance stuff because you need to have a more of a accountancy style knowledge set. We feel to develop that. So we have a partner that we can push stuff to. But our kind of world, or our ideal world, is a client or a new startup would come to us. We deliver the modern work style piece with to do, like I mentioned, we talk about Teams, Planner, Viva Engage. We use a little bit of Viva Learning and that sort of stuff. And then we would move them up that Microsoft chain into the Power Platform world, and then ultimately into Microsoft Dynamics. And then outside or alongside that is the whole AI and Copilot piece. So we've, to be fair, recently we try and stick within Copilot as our framework, but obviously you can use other models now. So we've recently been using Claude and some of the other bits through Copilot. But our aim is, because we work in regulated industry quite a lot, and we try to simplify a stack and keep it within one vendor, we try and use Copilot agents, Copilot Studio, and we're looking at Foundry at the minute for those other ancillary AIs to be linked into. And then outside of that, the only other real apps that we work with a lot are where a client will have a line of business application. So in the legal world, you might have like a case management system that we would pull into or bolt on. In an accountancy world, you might have different finance packages or payroll packages to manage people's payroll and that sort of stuff. But ultimately, we try and stick within the Microsoft stack where we can. Even when it comes down to our security, like we use the Defender and ATP and all that kind of stuff within the Microsoft world where we can, because we want to keep our life simple. And the other thing we've learned along the way is that if we specialize in one set of technologies, it's easier for us to become great at it and to spread that knowledge within a team. Whereas if we're trying to do 5 different systems for 5 different people, we're diluting the resource and the capacity we have to deliver great service.
Yeah. On the we've had the topic before. I can't remember when it was, Austin, but we're build versus buy. You mentioned the Power Platform. Then are you often recommending customer that we'll build a Power App for you versus there's this thing off the shelf, you should just buy this thing?
It's a really interesting question. I think it's pretty topical at the minute with the whole AI piece, isn't it? And vibe coding and all that sort of stuff. I've played with Lovable. I know Stuart's done loads in Claude, and Liv, who's the AI person here, has worked with loads. My ideal answer would be you'd always take, if the off-the-shelf product fits, you'd always take something that's been fully like tested, researched, and developed. The reason I think the answer's maybe not as black and white anymore is AI, vibe coding, Power Platform, low code, that sort of stuff. has given people the ability to make smaller, less critical apps, but more of them, in my mindset. So to give you an example, we have a client that, without revealing too much, used to use Excel to make these as their quoting engine. Excel basically had these really complex macros that somebody created and then left the business. And these Excels were like their Bible. If they ever broke, needed changing, they really struggled. They couldn't live without them. Obviously, you're not going to buy something off the shelf that will perfectly fit that because it was so bespoke and so unique. But what we could do was reverse engineer it, take that and put it into a Power App, which one would be more future-proof, but two, more people could update it more easily because it is low code. There is some code in it, but it would enable the staff to have a little bit of ownership over the development and the management of it, rather than just buying something off the shelf and being stuck within a fixed framework that they can't change. So I think it all depends on your requirements. If there's an off-the-shelf product that fits your needs, I'd always go down that route. But I think the world we're moving into with AI and some of the vibe coding elements that are coming out, I think that my answer might change in a year or two.
Yeah.
How do you guys find that?
It's a really interesting question, right? Because we've seen the share price of so many big application SaaS vendors fall off a cliff, right, over the last year because everybody thinks AI is going to replace it all. And I'm of the same opinion of you as you, right? There are some use cases where it's great, right? But if you're trying to get it to replace a platform that is running your business, it's going to be a long time before you do that. If you ever do it, right? Because there's so many teams behind these things and integrations and updates and whatever. It really isn't just as simple as that. So, and it's funny because I work for a software vendor. I've not seen any customers going, "Oh no, we're going to vibe code that," because they all know it's just too complex. But yet the share price has fallen off a cliff because analysts are like, "Oh no, it's fine. That product that's taken 20 years to write, somebody's just going to vibe code it tomorrow." Boom, boom, boom. But yeah, I'm really excited. I love the smaller use case. I can't wait for work to be available in Microsoft, which I know it is for some users. But
what is it? Sorry, Austin, what was that?
Me yet. Claude Cowork is going to be available in Copilot, which will make things like those macros in Excel and all that just super easy to do. Going to be brilliant for me.
Just started with Cowork this week actually, and playing with it and having a look at it. Obviously, it's in preview or frontier they call it at the minute, but we've just been given access to it and just started playing with it, and it I think will level up the abilities of Copilot because we're moving away from knowledge based and having to copy and paste things into different tools from anything in the Microsoft world to be able to action. The one thing I'd say, the tooling or the technology is moving quicker than people. And the one thing I find when I speak to people about this or I'm asked about it is people still don't understand how to prompt effectively to get the right outputs. And we treat prompts like Google searches and we just throw 5-6 words in. And sometimes your prompt, especially if we're talking about co-work and having to do some measurable actions for you, it could be paragraphs or pages of prompt. And I think the big shift in mindsets needed from people before these tools will work to their optimum, even though the ability is starting to become greater and greater. It's people that are limiting the use of them with not understanding capabilities or how to interact with them is kind of what I find.
I totally agree with that, right? I spend 15 to 20 minutes every morning just trying to go, okay, what's new, right? And that's nowhere near enough, right? Which is why, your services are great, right? So for a company an organization that is out there that is going, okay, I know I should be doing something with AI. but I don't really know where to start, or even I've started and then I've got overwhelmed and I feel like I'm behind already. What would your advice be to them?
I'll probably get persecuted in my industry for saying this, because our typical MSP answer is data security, secure everything, do this. The truth, in my opinion, is nobody's going to go through the tedious, laborious task of sorting data out before they get to the sexy side of using AI on it. So what we would say, or I would recommend, is start with a small use case, something that can be really fixed scope and really well defined. What's the output? What are you trying to achieve? Is it you trying to remove the need for that Excel and all those macros, for example? So you already know what your output should look like, and then work backwards. And just start building one small fixed scope, fixed case with a purposeful output that would deliver a measurable difference to you or your business, and then start building out from there. And once you've got enough momentum over it and you understand the value in it, then spend the time with data structure, data security, and doing the foundation piece. I think a lot of people get the tools and then, like you say, they lose interest because they're either overwhelmed or they're being told to go and sort this out, and it's not engaging or fun. So just do those little pieces. To try and showcase how easy agents were at the start of bringing it back to Leeds United, I created a co-pilot agent that would predict the Leeds United scores in the Premier League week to week, and I did it live on LinkedIn week to week, announced the scores, and I only had a small data set. I only worked with like literally this season, so the idea was it could show people how the data was being captured, like how it started really wild because it didn't have a lot of context, but the scoring or the prediction should have got more accurate. And I ran that up until about Christmas, when it got too much to keep up to date. But something like that was fun for me to do, and it helped illustrate how I could use AI without it actually needing massive security audits and all this other stuff. You could start with something as simple as that, or that sort of premise.
It's a really great idea, that because, like you say, it allows people to dip in without compromising perhaps their customers' data, right? In that case, doing something that means something to you, and maybe it's just something that you do in your day-to-day job, right? Where you're like, oh, flipping heck, I have to move into, I have to update our CRM every week, yet the notes are already there out of my meeting tool in the CRM in a different tool, right? Oh, maybe I could just build something to move that data from there to there, saves me 20 minutes every week, and away you go, right? It's loads of use cases for this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then you build momentum and confidence and knowledge at the same time, don't you? And you're not exposing yourself or the organization to a big risk. So I 100% think that is a really great way to get started. Yeah.
Nice. So what is Everon doing to help clients in this AI overwhelm, or where do I start space?
So it depends on their level, ultimately. The conversations we're having are obviously changing. People are more aware now. And I think people are probably, when we started talking about this with clients a year ago, maybe a bit longer, 18 months ago, it was fear was the overriding sort of theme, was, well, what does it do? I don't understand how it's going to impact me, or will it impact me? Will I be replaced? The conversations we now have are more around, can it do this? Can it do that? Because people are more accepting it's here and we're going to have to adapt to use it. I think the issue we have, or where we land with clients, are they either think too small, and we're talking about summarizing emails or Word, or we're thinking blue sky without any of the ROI bits in between. So what we're doing at Everon right now, and one of the kind of missions I've set internally for the year, is to demystify AI, but show and educate every one of our clients how useful it is to use co-pilot agents or agents to deliver measurable benefit, the things they can quantify. So be useful rather than just be for fun, or just shave 30 seconds off writing an email. So depending on where clients are with that journey, we've built agents for clients already. So we've got, for example, again, without naming names, solicitors that use AI for bank statement and reviews. So in a family law case, for example, if somebody is going through a divorce, rather than manually add up all the income and expenditure for a party from every bank account for the last 2 years, the AI will now go through and do that sort of stuff for them. We've done stuff around water hygiene and helping field engineers understand the ratio of chemical mixes by just entering the size of the tanks that they're working with without having to manually create the math or go into method statements and stuff like that. And then we've even done stuff around like wellness and mental health. So creating agents that can check in with people, check in with team members, offer initial advice for like mental health and wellness issues, or escalate to designated mental health contacts and clients and stuff like that. And we're at the minute involved in a few projects where we're combining Power BI and AI and Copilot specifically to take lots of different data points from lots of different siloed systems in a quite big legacy style company and be able to pull them into a central dataverse where we can then use Copilot and Power BI to generate SLT and department reports and insight. So it really depends where you're at. But it all starts with that education piece. So we have some clients that we're just doing education with right now as well.
Yeah, super. And I love what you talked about earlier of like just understand what the output is. Like there's so much you can do. Like most of us have no idea what you can do with this stuff, but you know, what is the outcome that you're trying to get, right? And then using you and your team to go, okay, well, this is what it is. Might not even need AI. Might just be a bit of automation, right?
100%, yeah.
To achieve that.
I think people don't always differentiate, do they, between AI and automation. And like we talked about Power Automate earlier as a tool we use. It's been around for years, but until AI became industry news or worldwide news, people weren't really that interested in it. Now all of a sudden someone will come and say, can we do this AI project? And what they actually mean is Power Automate.
Yeah.
They just don't understand the difference.
And it is really important because we're going to see the costs of AI rise significantly over the next few years because everything's VC backed right now and people are just chucking loads of money at it. Right, it's going to dry up at some point. So if you can automate instead of using AI, then it's definitely going to affect your business model as you go forward, I think.
Yeah, I think we there's so much on the cost side of stuff, even from us, how we sell that service into clients. It's so fluid at the minute. There's no magic bullet for any of that kind of stuff at the minute, and people are just working in a way and trying to adapt as the industry's evolving. But as you mentioned earlier, it's so rapid right now. It's really hard to get.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in our world, we're seeing kind of AI observability become a really hot topic, right? Because, you know, particularly for bigger organizations, they're like, okay, we need to understand cost. Like, what is costing us? Have we got a shed load of queries we're running that should be an FAQ, right? That we're paying an absolute fortune for somebody to use our internal AI system as Google, basically. You know, and then how is this stuff performing for our customers? Because you start to implement this and your customers aren't getting the experience that they would want from a chatbot, they just just go sod it, you know, and there was no point in you implementing it, right? And then you've got this security piece, you know, and this governance piece of, is it giving us the right answers? Is it giving our customers the right answers? Can we prove how we got to those answers? You know, and all this sort of thing. So it's going to be a really interesting space, I think, over the next year or two.
Did you, obviously my world's more SMB and I think they've got an agile advantage at the minute and they're not limited by kind of size in the same way for adoption of new stuff. But I did see, and this was a couple of months back, a legal firm, Shoesmiths. I don't know if anyone's heard of them, but they're quite large. They offered £1 million for prompts. So their idea was to remove fear and buy people into this world of prompting properly. So they basically said, if we can hit 1 million prompts, and we're going to measure and monitor the prompts, 1 million prompts from the internal staff in a year, we'll pay £1 per prompt. So we'll pay £1 million bonus to the team to buy their engagement and to buy their insight into using the AI before they kind of unleashed it. And I don't know whether that's concluded yet. I presume they're still running through it, but they're physically paying people to prompt internally in their organization to try and speed up this adoption cycle.
I love this. I love this idea. I've heard something similar recently. I don't know if you've seen One Mind. If you've not, go check it out. It's a very human,
very cool
avatar AI system. But they listened to an interview with their CEO, and with all of their staff, they're like, what we want you to do is engineer yourself out of your job. If you do that, we will find you another job. Like, because then we're using the tools properly. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Madness. Matt, Jamie, is there anything else you want to cover off? I'm conscious we've probably need to wrap up soon.
Nothing for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if anybody wanted to get in touch, obviously I'll always offer free advice as well. So people can find me on LinkedIn. I'll drop me a message. I'll always have a chat with people.
Absolutely. Super. You beat me to it.
I was thinking that you just stole Austin's bit there,
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's all right. It's fine. No, it's all good.
We'll edit it out. Just do it again. Pretend it never happened. Go on, Austin, go for it.
No, it's fine. Look, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. We've talked about a hell of a lot today, and jumped from moving to a new ITSM and kind of process tool, and how much your life has been simplified as an organization by getting just things like license and subscription billing organized, and all that onboarding process that you've got, and billing process sorted. Then we talked about EOS for running your business, and how actually you read a book, thought, okay, this looks great for our business. You tried to implement it yourselves, and then you realize, actually, we need tools and an expert to come and help us do this, which is a great reason for people to call you guys in when they're getting stuck in the technology world. Then we moved on to the kind of Microsoft piece, and how you're helping people adopt things like Power Automate and the whole Power Platform before you get into the Copilot world. And then we talked about how people could use AI, and you said use stuff off the shelf if it fits. First, it's been researched, tested and developed, but try using AI for smaller, less critical applications. You had a great example of somebody who had a quoting Excel spreadsheet with some complex macros in it, and somebody had left the business, and it's like, okay, great, we can recreate this in minutes with an AI system and keep it updated and not need some skills for this. We talked about tools moving quicker than people, right? And that's another great reason for people to come and talk to you guys, because you're up to date and they can use you. But people also need to get better at prompting, right? If you're going to get ahead, that's where you should focus your energy. Start with that small use case. Focus on what the outcome is first. Just do something and focus on the outcome. Make sure you're getting that measurable. It's making a measurable difference to your life or to your business. And you gave a great example of how you'd use this to predict Leeds United scores, right? So your first use case doesn't have to be in the business, right? It could be something you do on a day-to-day basis. And then you had some really great use cases of other things that you're doing where you're going into businesses and saying, Okay, where do you spend your time? Oh, you spend it reviewing bank statements in a solicitor's for divorce cases. Well, let's just automate that. It's dead simple. Or engineers calculating the amount of chemicals in in a water store, which is incredible. And then finally, we talked about bring your use cases to experts like Jamie, because actually automating might be the answer, not AI, and that's going to save you a shed load of money, and which will really save you from a cost challenge in the future. Right? So thank you very, very much for coming on today, Jamie. Jamie's LinkedIn is up on the screen. Please reach out to Jamie if you just want to have a chat about any of this stuff. You're confused, you don't know where to go or what to do, or maybe you've just got a huge requirement and you've got a shed load of money to spend on AI, and Jamie would be delighted to meet with you very shortly. So thanks again, Jamie. Really appreciate it. Matt, what have we got next for our listeners?
No, I mean, I have to call out this QR code widget that I just found inside StreamYard. I thought I'd test that out. So hopefully it goes to your LinkedIn, Jamie. We'll see. As for next, we've not got a date, but we're going to be doing in May. This is for any organisation that is maybe not quite getting their way through ITIL, let's call it. And it's with a individual called Jan Van Bon, and it's to talk about USM, which is Unified Service Management, which has been described to me. It's like service management without the debt. Is the short summary. But that session is going to be booked in through May. We're just confirming the date, so we'll come back. And beyond that, though, we are also now officially going to be planning our first physical event. We are not exactly sure where. We are not exactly sure when, but it's probably going to be in June. We do know who, but once we've done the planning on our side, we will announce it along with the format, the location, the date, and then it will be a small audience. So we won't be able to have lots of people because of the setting we want to try and create, but we'll put out some polls and notifications in the coming days, weeks, with some suggestions, and then we'll make it all official inside of the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'd imagine. But it's going to be around the first couple of weeks of June for our first, and hopefully not our last, physical event.
Super. Wonderful. Very excited about that. It's going to be fun. So thank you very, very much, everybody. And thanks once again, Jamie. It was really insightful. Really appreciate that. And we'll see you all on the next one. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.